Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
Good evening, everybody. Coming up on First Updates Now tonight, it's our Detroit Championship preview show. We'll break down each division in order and go through who stands out, who might be a dark horse, and give you our predictions for each division. We're also going to give you opinions on what First needs to do to make the Detroit Championship a success. Reporting for First Updates Now, I'm Garrison Hefter. We got Tyler Olds, our producer, in the background tonight, and we have an amazing set of panelists from Fun tonight who will be breaking down our divisions. I'm going to ask each one of them to introduce themselves for us.
All right, so I'll go first. My name's PJ. I am, born and raised in the Detroit metro area, so I am super excited to finally have championships coming to my hometown. I am also a host on Intimidation and a prolific referee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Audrey. I'm one of your Any Way You Want It recap hosts, and I'm a strategy mentor for Team 5254 Hype in upstate New York, and I'm an alum of Team 20, the Rocketeers.
Hey everybody, my name is Parth Patel. I'm the drive coach for Team 610, and then you probably already see me for the We the North recap.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben. I've shoutcasted a few times for fun here. I am a alum of 234 and 1747, right now mentor of 225 and 3504.
Hi, I'm Lino. I was on Houston around. I'm coach for 4635, and I'm also a regional recap for Mexico.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Garrison. I'm an alum of 2468. So now let's go ahead and bring on Tyler and talk about tonight's awesome giveaway.
Hey, Garrison, before I do that, big congrats to you guys in 2468. So
Thank
for
you.
an awesome chairman's finalist, I saw Norm down in the field. We did some live streaming with him, man, and it was absolutely incredible to see the passion on all the students on that team. So big shout outs.
Yeah, I couldn't be more proud of them. Absolutely. Huge congratulations to them.
So for the giveaway tonight, we have 1756 Argos is going to be giving away this awesome T-shirt along with a custom keychain. So if you are interested in getting this, it'll be given away later during the show. But what you have to do is either follow or subscribe. And then later on, we're going to give you a keyword that you need to type in the chat. And that will be your opportunity to win this. Subscribers do get 5 times chance to win. And we appreciate that because they help make First Updates Now possible. Do also want to give a big shout out to apparently Lino, who's tipping bits while he's working as well. Thanks, Lino. I appreciate that.
All right,
he just wants to be at first.
Thanks, y'all. And also during the show, we're going to have Tyler displaying some really awesome stats put together by the amazing data guru Jay-Z from our Australia region recap show. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get straight into our division previews. We're a little pressed for time now. We've got a lot of them to get through. And so let's go ahead and get started. For those of you following along at home, we are going in alphabetical order, which means we're going to start off first with the Archimedes division. PJ, let's go ahead and get it started.
All right. So first things first, I wanted to, do a little bit of fun with numbers. And because what I was looking at, a lot of these, I was comparing Archimedes to Roebling, which I covered last week for the Houston preview. And one of the key differences in the Detroit Championship is just the number of district teams as compared to regional teams. For example, on Archimedes, 44 of the teams, so 65% of the field, come from districts, whereas only 12 of the teams last week on Roebling were district teams. So this means more events and more matches played. There's only 2 teams that have only played one event on Archimedes compared to 17 single event teams on Roebling. The Roebling teams between them had 137 events and 1,982 matches. whereas the Archimedes teams have 188 events and 2,821 matches, both around 40% more. So this is going to lead to what a lot of people have been saying about Detroit champs in general, that while we don't have this, there's not like the superstar teams like your 254, your 148, and all that. This is a much deeper field with a lot more experience. Archimedes has 5 district championship winners. There's 36 combined event wins, 8 teams with multiple event wins. It's a ton of amazing teams, so I can't talk about all of them, so I'm going to talk about some of them. So I'm going to start with sort of our non-district favorites. So the first one I want to bring up is Team 1259 Paradigm Shift from Wisconsin. They are 32-0 on the season. They've got a great intake. After I watched a handful of matches, I think they dropped 1 cube in 5 or 6 matches, which is a problem I see with a lot of teams, but they do not have. They have absolutely no problems on the second level of the scale, whether they're winning it or losing it. Their one disadvantage, they don't appear to have any sort of scale auto, which might come back to hurt them if they haven't worked one out by champs. Most of the time they're doing the switch. So hopefully they'll have that worked out, because if, Houston Elam's taught us anything, a lot of these matches are determined by the end of Auton. Moving on to our second team I want to talk about is Team 694 Stipulse from New York. Coming off of a perfect New York City event where they went 16-0, won the Chairman's Award, won the Woody Flowers Award, and had a Dean's List finalist, they're coming into champs about as hot as a team can come on. I put them as, they're a dark horse for the Hall of Fame. At the very least, I see them getting a champion chairman's finalist. I think they're definitely in that conversation. And then on top of their fantastic culture awards and culture presence, they also have a great robot this year. They have a super fast drive. I can't tell for sure if it's like an H drive or a butterfly drive, but something in that family with a lot of omni wheels and a lot of speed. They have speed in every aspect of their game. They've got a fast intake, a fast drive, fast elevator, and a fast climb. So they're looking to really do some damage. And my final regional team I want to talk about is going to be 1756 Argos, who actually are, the sponsors of our giveaway tonight. So they're from Illinois. They are one of those teams that, they've got a wheeled intake to an arm. They struggle on the second layer of cubes if they're losing on the scale, which has not been a huge problem for them because generally they're winning the scale. So, but that did come back to hurt them at Seven Rivers, where they were knocked out in quarters because they got behind on the scale and then struggled a lot, along with other factors. But however, they can reach the third layer of a winning scale with relative ease, so that's sort of their trade-off. And then, so those are my regional teams to watch. And then now we're getting into our district teams because there's a lot more of them and they're fantastic and I love them. So I'm going to start with some of my FIM teams. First, I talk about 4003, the Trisonics. I am not going to sleep on this team again. I kind of disparaged them in my MSC preview. I said I was not super impressed with their robot, and then they came and just dominated and won MSC. So I'm not going to, I learned from my mistake and I'm not going to do that again. So I think what throws me off is there's nothing flashy about their game. They're pretty basic looking robot. They score. There's nothing flashy about their game, but they know how to play it. They're smart drivers. They don't try to push or do anything they don't have to do to win matches. They're concerned with winning matches, and they don't feel the need to do anything flashy. Generally, they leave climbing to their partners when they're able to, but they do have the ability. And when they do climb, they have room to climb with a friend, which will be key for ranking points. Speaking of climbing with a friend, that moves into my second FIM team I want to discuss, which is Team 67, the Hot Team. They've got one of the best climb assists in the world, super consistent, easy to drive on their ramp. So they have ranked high at a lot of their events. They have some problems with cube bounce when they're scoring. They're short. They do a short launching maneuver a lot of times to score on the scale, and it bounces sometimes. So, their short launches sometimes go haywire. They do have a solid intake, nothing flashy, but it works. They can play incredibly fast when they want to. Usually that was how they played their game in a few of their district matches. At MSC, they kind of slowed their game down sacrifice speed for precision a little bit. They have 7 division wins in team history, and I think they have a very good chance of breaking the tie at the top and claiming number 8 at this year. Moving into our friends from the north. I've got 2 Canadian teams on this division I really want to highlight. First one is 1325, Inverse Paradox. They have a lot going for them this year. They've got a 3-cube same-side scale auto along with the 2-side opposite scale auto, so they're very quickly dominating the games in autonomous. They can go level 3 if they have to. A very solid placement game. Similar to 4003, like I talked about before, they've got nothing flashy with their game, but they just play it incredibly well. This has led them to, they were a district finalist, district winner, and then they won Ontario provincial champs. And so like I said, they're nothing flashy, play it very well. Other Ontario team is sort of on the opposite side. I'm going to say 1114, the Symbotics. You know, we can't not talk about them. They've struggled with consistency this year. They have had breaks in the Windsor semifinals where their elevator exploded. They had an elevator break in the semifinals of district champs. Their intake snapped in their district champ finals. But when it isn't breaking, they have a super fast elevator and gatherer. They've got an ability to, pass through. They can score on either side of their robot, but they seem to have been avoiding it since, from what some people were telling me, that's what was causing some of the breaks, was the sort of the flipping action. It was causing problems for them. But because of this flipping, they can tear apart the pyramid into the exchange crazy fast when they decide. They have a crazy high ceiling at this event. Like, they have the ability to win this division and run away with it, but they need to stay, the robot needs to stay in one piece. A couple more. Moving over to Mar. I want to talk about Team 303, the test team. Have had a lot of successes at district level and even won a regional this year. But they need to improve some factors if they're going to do well at champs. They have flashes of 2-cube autos, but need to dial that in. They struggle on level 2 of a losing scale, and they have some drops. But overall, they are a good scale team, and they're a phenomenal switch team, actually. They seem to be a better switch team than a scale team from the matches I was watching. They ended up having to play scale because there weren't a ton of top-tier scale bots in Mar. So they ended up playing, but they are a much better switch team.
Yeah. I want to interject some stuff about 303. Yeah, I want to throw out that their strategy it tends to be on a level higher than a lot of the other teams in Mar. And even though the robot's not quite as flashy, they win a lot of matches that they maybe shouldn't. Like, for whatever reason, the Nemesis 2590 in Mar, one of the best teams in the world right now, has really only lost to 2 teams, and that's 1640 and 303, and they've lost to 303 like 3 times. Yeah. So, for whatever reason, they tend to scramble win. And with whatever leadership that they have on there right now, they play very smart. Yeah. So watch out.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed. That's why I put them up here, even though they weren't. Mm-hmm. I was like, their stats, if you were to take them at a stats level, like their number of cubes and things like that, isn't crazy impressive. But like, I was watching them play it, I'm like, how are they winning these matches? Mm-hmm. So like, I'm not making the same mistake I made with 4003, where I'm like, oh, they won a lot, but they don't look impressive, so I'm not going to talk about them, because no, they obviously are winning these matches for a reason. They have some incredibly smart coaching. Then my final district team that I'm going to throw in the conversation is Team 868, the Tech Hounds out of Indiana. They won 3/4 of all of the events in Indiana by winning 2 districts and then district champs. They have a consistent 2-cube switch auto. They appear to not have an opposite side scale auto. They kind of drive forward and turn like they're going to get there. They drive about halfway to 2/3 of the way to the opposite scale, and then they stop. So I don't know if and they have plenty of time. It's not like they run out of time doing all this. So I don't know if I don't know. I can't explain it, but hopefully they'll get that dialed in, and we'll be able to see it at champs. Because if they can get that opposite side scale auto going, I mean, they've got a great intake. They've got a great placement ability. They have 0 issues with level 2 on the cubes. Like, doesn't stop them, doesn't phase them at all. So if they can dial in a little bit better autons, a little bit more auton variety, they're going to be scary at the championship level. Then sort of my cluster of other teams that I just don't have the time to get into detail about, but will have successful runs. 4392, the Deceivers out of Michigan. 1493, the Falcons out of New York. 1262, the Stags out of Chesapeake. 4237, Team Lancebot. 2200, Robotics. 1218, Vulcan Robotics. And 1923, the Midnight Inventors are all teams that I see being in that mix for somewhere probably in the 4, 5, 6 alliance spots. And if Houston taught us anything, it's not to sleep on anybody in the bottom half of the bracket. And then I'm going to throw out my one dark horse. Is going to be 3656, the Dreadbots out of Michigan. Very underhyped this year. They were a finalist and winner at their 2 districts, semifinalist at their division at MSC. They only lost to the 67-37-07, the alliance that won their division. I think what hurts them is sometimes they make poor cube placement choices where either they drop or they try to force it where it's not going to fit, which then knocks other cubes off the scale, and it can kind of cause them some problems. So hopefully that they can get their game dialed in a little bit, and they can score on the 3rd level on a neutral or losing scale, which could make all the difference come elims. Then just a brief overall prediction. I think 67 has the best chance of seeding first in this division due to the combination of a relatively generous gift from the schedule gods and being one of the few climb assist bots in the division, and by far the best one with a climb assist. And I think some combination of 1325, 1114, 67, and 4003, like those 4 robots are going to be in the finals in some combination, whether it's going to be Michigan versus Canada, Hall of Fame versus, the DCA Dandies, or the other combination that I couldn't come up with a clever name for, which would be, whatever. So I couldn't come up with a name for them. But the biggest threats I see to those 4 are going to be Stypulse and the Tech Hounds. So that is, anyone have any other thoughts on Archimedes?
I'm just going to throw something out there. Having lost to them at the Ontario Provincial Championship, don't sleep on 2200. We made that mistake. Don't be that team. They also beat out 1305 and Dave and us and the Cybercavs. They've got a good robot there, and they're going to do some pretty cool things.
I'll second the endorsements for 1218 and 1923. That both those robots are quietly very good. They're both, they're relatively standard robots with a hook, kind of like you might see with like a 1241 or robots like that have gotten a little more press, but they play very, very well, both of them, and expect them to do well here. Like 1923 was almost catching 225 on the scale a couple times. It's very surprising, just a lot of the level, a lot of these teams, and I think I don't think it's going to be as clear cut as people think here at the World Championships.
Yeah, and a couple of teams you didn't mention at all were some of the New England teams coming in this group. You have 63-28 and 63-29. Both went unpicked in New England District Championships. Both very, very strong teams that I think will probably be in eliminations come Saturday.
Yeah, just to mention 1493 as well. Winners of the New York Tech Valley Regional, Falcons. Nothing to sleep on. They're probably one of the best switch robots in the state right now. They built right to their resources. Can't say enough about them. They're just great this year.
Yeah, I'm hesitant because they're one of the, that's their only event. But I think so. They're coming in with a lot less match time. They got a lot less stick time than most of these other teams coming in. But hopefully they'll still be ready.
Also, New York teams to mention, 870 Rice coming in from Long Island, highest OPR in the division. People are asking who this is, who could it possibly be, but anyone who watched New York knows that's no mistake. 870 is definitely something to watch out for. Great scale robot and can keep up probably with the best of them.
Awesome. Thank you, PJ, Audrey, all y'all for pitching in there. And remember, if one of your teams is mentioned here, pop in chat. Let us know that you like what we're saying. Maybe if you didn't get your team mentioned, let us know that you're going to be doing great at championships. And next up, we got Audrey with the Carson division.
All right, so let's head over to the Carson division. The number 1 seed, starting off, never won the division. In fact, a number 1 seed in Carson hasn't ever gotten past semifinals. And this year really shouldn't be any different. Carson may not boast a horde of the perennial Einstein contenders, but as we saw last week in Houston, it's been a breakout year for most good teams this season. Carson makes up for our lack of name recognition with the depth and even level of play that these teams are capable of. So let's start out with some stats. 68 teams, 30 event finalists, 42 event winners, in total 63 banners, the most of any division. But even with all this blue banner power, Carson sits in the middle of the road with their OPR. But don't let that fool you, because this division is so close and so deep. So let's talk about what's going to differentiate the top 8 alliances and pull in some actual team numbers into the mix too. More specifically, autonomous. Who's going to take the scale first? Who's going to own it for teleop? And there are 2 teams that stand out coming into the first 15 seconds of Carson this year. Teams 225, Techfire, and 4476, Waffles. Starting off with the Mar District Championship winner, triple banner team 225. Techfire's auto modes, they're beautiful, they're super pretty, they're really consistent. They're capable of 2 cubes, grabbing another on their near side, and 1.5 cubes on their cross autos. 225 currently has the best proven auto on the competition field coming into this division. Now, we know that's going to change. 225 has been on fire all season and really stands out in the top 4 teams of this division. Yeah, there's more. Wait for it. Not just for their autos, but for their scale scoring. 225's great. Their placement, their ability to play any role on the field, just all around great team. But if there's anyone coming onto the field that's poised to take out 225 from the quantitatively best auto position, it'd be 4476 out of the Ontario District. Coming onto Carson with 2 banners and 4 awards. It's Waffles. Currently, they're the only team in the division capable of getting 2 cubes on the near and far side of the scale in auto. And boy, are they consistent with it. Basically, every match I've watched, if 4476 is on the field, there will be 2 cubes on their side of the scale by the end of autonomous. And after that, just a bunch too. Waffles seems to eat perfectly good cube placement for breakfast. With some of the best I've seen from any robot all season. That slow and smooth placement will come in handy in their elimination matches when the cubes get higher and the scoring gets even tougher. Now, I mentioned that 4476 was one of the best teams for placement in the division, but let's talk about probably the best cube placement I've seen all season. That'd be team 3357, the Comets, yes. Arguably the best team coming into the division, flying in off of a 5-banner season with a 67-7-0 record. 3357 has shown that they are the team to beat or pair with this season. They won their division at MSC, went on to be eliminated in the semifinals of Fimstein with a handoff elevator and just a small, sweet little drop off to the scale. The Comets are just known to fly through the cubes at the beginning of the match with a great first layer and only going up from there.
Yeah, what helps with the Comets, because I, refed on their division, is what they do is they score on the scale. They score them on the narrow side. They score cubes on the narrow side. So when they pick it up, they lift it up, and it's on the narrow side. So they can pack in. I think they can get 12 on one layer because they just pack them all in. They can get 4 across and 3 deep. And if they're doing it by themselves, they could get 12 per layer, which is ridiculous. Generally, it doesn't end up looking that pretty because some other team comes along and knocks them all off or knocks everything askew. But for the most part, their placement is beautiful.
Yeah, just absolutely amazing to watch. I can't wait to interact with them at Champs and just tell them how amazing they are. But ready to bring the thunder on Carson is a team with the second best placement, in my opinion, that I've seen. 217, the Thunder Chickens, also semifinalists at the Michigan State Championship. They sport a 2-cube near, 1-cube far, 2-cube switch autonomous, and soft, extremely careful placement. Next up on our list of Michigan teams, or Carson teams, sorry. We've got one that stands out. Carson's not a strong division for buddy climbers, but we've got one key player that's ready to shift into gear to get those rank points. Team 1918, the NC Gears, coming in with 2 Michigan banners. 1918 has an Iron Cross triple lift with good placement, 2-cube close scale auto, and they're projected to seed 3rd from Caleb Sykes rankings published earlier this week. Now, I could really mention more than half of the division as a great scale robot this year. But here's a few teams worth mentioning, and they're ready to really leave an impact on this division. Teams 133, 4253, 4145, 3015, 4130, 88, 422, and 3940.
I would actually like to give a shout out to 3940, which they actually got as a waitlist robot. But honestly, they've been doing all the tasks that needs to be done at first power up. So I think that whoever gets this robot for division place in the right pick, I think they're going to be a strong robot on whatever alliance they have. So big shout out to them from our part.
Yeah, absolutely. Great team. Now, going into a little bit more depth on some of our scalers, we have Code Red, Team 2771, MSC4 division finalists. They have a swerve. They have great placement. And they're really good at switching off roles on the field. They have smart driving, and they've shown off some excellent offensive play at the higher levels of MSC. Next up, 2 Mid-Atlantic District Championship finalists, showing us that even with a wobbly elevator or wobbly collector, 1640 and 25 can still work around defensive sabotage to show off some offensive power. Boasting some impressive autos and cube rating teleops to complement, when these teams hit their stride at the events, it's really difficult to match their impressive driving.
I want to interject in here and just say that 25 was the top cube scorer at Marchamps. They better than Nemesis, better than us. It was 25. So they're all without like a roller intake. They're ridiculously good, and really watch out for them there. And 1640s, I've seen their 3 cubes on our practice field, so they're coming
Exciting.
too. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So switching off to our Switch players, to play Power Up as a Switch robot, you got to play well. You've got to have a great deal of forward thinking, have a great driving and strategy, and a fair amount of good scouting. Team 2338 has surely proven their ability to do all of that this season. Debuting a 3-cube scale auto just yesterday on Chief Delphi, the forward thinkers of Gear Forward have solidified themselves as one of the best shooter-type robots in this division. So now that we've talked about kind of our big names going through here, let's talk about some of our more underrated teams this season. We've kind of gone over those, so let's talk about our divisional dark horses. First of all, shout-outs to Team 862, 88, and Team 5254. All great teams with lightning-fast teleop scoring to prove it, but without any banners to hype them up this season. One of our top teams that was majorly underrated this season, though, has got to be Michigan Team 5050. Basically the best-kept secret of the Michigan District, also known as Cowtown Robotics. We've discussed placement, we've discussed auto. 5050 has it all. The first time I saw them, I was blown away. Holy cow, how have I not heard of this team?
Nobody
and the matches
has.
Yeah, right? And the more matches I see from them, the better they get. They're a consistent machine that knows how to drive, they know how to place, but above all, they understand the game. They understand how to play Power Up. And even though they missed grabbing a banner this season, expect a deep run from this team, potentially grabbing a division banner as their first this season. So now, on to a bit of predictions. It's a bit difficult with this division. I'm not big on guessing how this bracket is going to go. I'm not even sure once Carson gets going that anyone will know what's going to happen. But anyway, I'll leave my prediction here. Anyone can comment in the chat. But I think, first off, the number 1 seed is going to make it to finals this year. First time in Carson history, but 2018 is the year. But prediction 2 is that whoever they face will win the division. The last few picks of that draft are going to determine how well these teams can face off against each other. And really, the rest of the field's on Einstein as well. So on that note, let's head over to some of those other fields with Garrison and the Curie division.
I'm going to jump in with one last thought. Sorry to interrupt. But because there was a couple teams that I want to throw out there. There's because actually a couple of the really good teams from Chesapeake, the Chesapeake region, are in Carson that definitely are to keep an eye on, which includes 384, Sparky, 422, who you mentioned, and then 1885, Eyelight, who are coming off a Woody Flowers award winner down in Houston, which is a whole big topic to get into because it was in Houston.
That's later.
Yeah, that's later. Yeah, not that I'm salty about it, but because I know 1885 pretty well. But anyway, and then 1731 as well, Fresta Valley. But there's sort of almost all of the top Chesapeake teams ended up in Carson for one reason or another, and nobody really talks about Chesapeake a lot, but they have some pretty good teams. Eyelight's a favorite to go Hall of Fame. In all honesty, they're my pick for Hall of Fame this year.
They're mine too.
Yeah, and but on top of it, they have good robots, and so I just want to show some love to our Chesapeake friends.
I just want to jump in real quick before you go, Garrison. I want some love out to out east, outside of Toronto and Ontario, specifically to Montreal and the Quebec region. Team 3990 on Carson, that's Tech for Kids. they don't have the kinds of robots that you necessarily talk about every year, but they seem to be a perennial presence in Montreal anyway. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got.
Yeah, they've got an awesome swerve robot this year.
Yeah, and y'all hit a few of the ones I was actually going to take. But I've got three. I've got three that I really want to mention in this field. Sorry,
just how
so
deep
many.
this division is, right?
Oh yeah,
Like all these divisions are so deep. Like doing the research on this is crazy. But my three are 88 TJ squared. I've got 133 Burt. You only mentioned them briefly. They were one of the top teams in New England this year. Get one of those deceptively simple bots, and my other one. Kind of dark horse, 41-45. They had their first event win in team history this year, and the Warbots from Ohio are really strong this year. And okay, I think
they have
that
like on them real quick. They have like this sideline thing, right? That they've
got
a
the
bar
buddy
that comes
bar that goes
across
on
and
the
goes
side.
on. Yeah, so that's going to help them seed quite a bit.
Yeah, and Ben, do you have any comments about 225? They're in that division too. You haven't mentioned them at all.
Well, I wanted to, I was letting Audrey do her thing, yeah. But we're looking forward to playing a lot of great teams on Carson. We've been practicing for a few weeks and hope to do well.
Awesome,
thanks,
Ben.
Yeah, I mean the robot's not changing that much. Maybe we've butted our whatchamacallits, the hooks on the side out a little bit, so it's a little bit more likely that we'll be able to pull off a climb with another selfish climber, right? So, we've got 4 of those matches that the only other climber is a selfish climber. So, maybe we can pull out a couple extra RP that way.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our third division of the night, and it is Curie, and looks like I'm going to be taking this one. And so to start this off, I'm going to go ahead and say I don't really think the 1 seed is up for much dispute. I think 195 is probably going to run away with it. They have 3-scale auto on both sides, and they've proven that it's consistent, which hardly anybody else in the world has done that. And 195 is probably the best team in the East. Last week on Funalysis, we looked at a match that they played in Elims, and if y'all didn't watch that, I'll sum it up. As close as it was not close. The Cyber Knights are so damn good this year. They only lost 3 matches. 2 of them were in their first event. 1 of them was to the 3 best teams in New England. And they are definitely living up to their cheesy poofs of the East nickname. But if they falter, I think there are a few teams strong enough on the scale as well as have the RP to get there and potentially take that number 1 spot, or really fight for that first pick and then the second spot. My first team on the list is Team 3707, the Brighton Techno Dogs. PJ wants me to mention their dirty swerve drive, and they're leading the pack of Michigan teams. A lot of Michigan teams in the Curie division, and it's I'm a few of them: 1718, the Fighting Pie; 3452, the Green Engineers; 70 Goodrich Martians; 1023 Bedford Express; 910 Foley Freeze; 302 the Dragons; 1025 Impy Robotics; 2054 the Tech Vikes. I can go on. There's more Michigan teams than that. This division is full of them, and it seems like half of those were in the consumer electronics division. So if you're in this division and you haven't watched the consumer electronics or whatever it was, whichever division they were in,
consumers, it was me. I was there.
yeah. Go watch PJ's recap of it from last week on Fun. They did a really good job of it, and that'll give you a pretty good taste of what you're going to be seeing in Curie. And now I think one of the other Michigan teams I didn't mention on that list, and I left them out because I want to talk about them a little bit more, is 35-38, the Robo Jackets. They have basically lost their dark horse status if they had one at this point. They were on Einstein in 2016, and they have been as dominant as basically any team in Michigan, bar maybe the Bees and Strike Force. I mean, they are very, very strong. They've got this pivoting turret that can score from the side that is very effective for them this year.
I'd say they're better than the Bees, but people don't.
Sure, yeah. I mean, this year they've probably been more consistent. And those are just a few of the top teams. But I think the top and then the next tier of teams is really close in this division. And here are a few of those. 1741 and 1747 are a couple of Indiana teams. They've already paired up once this season, and they really want to do it again. Or have they paired up twice? I might be wrong on that.
Twice.
Red Alert and Harrison Boilermaker Robotics are the two of those. Oh yeah, they teamed up twice. I have that later in my notes. And they've already said that they want to pair up again, and that would be really fun to watch. My next team on the list, Team 230, the Galehawks, and now this would be a fun pick for 195. Two Connecticut teams have a long history of playing together, but they haven't got to share the Alliance Station for playoffs this year. The Galehawks definitely have a top-level score. They went 18-0 in their first event, and every single event after that, they ran into 195's Alliance in the playoffs and lost there because 195 does not lose. I could definitely see them being a first overall pick. They've got a pretty neat buddy climb. They are one of the best scorers, and they have this awesome Pac-Man on their robot that follows their cube status. They're definitely a team to watch out for. I've got 379. This is a top team that hasn't won an event this year, which is a little weird. No banners this year, but they have a very good score at buddy climb and every tool that it takes to seed first, except for maybe that level of consistency of some of the top teams.
Yeah,
again,
I've seen a couple events with them here and now at this point. They had a little bit of bad luck on that, but they're one of those that no one's really talking about that really is very, very good. They were, back in week 1, they were the best robot at Miami Valley, and which was, surprisingly competitive for what the region's been in the past. So, they should seed pretty high. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Another team that actually made a trip to they went to Buckeye this year. It was 33-14 Mechanical Mustang. They put out from Mar. They put out some really good performances this year. Another New England team, 56-87, the Outliers. They were on Einstein last year with the Neutrons and had to beat 195 to get there. Last time 195 didn't win an event was that division, so they're probably mad. And I haven't mentioned Ontario at all. We have a few of them. 49-76 is an Ontario powerhouse. They upset 11-14, 12-41 in the semifinals of their division. Don't be surprised to see them in the top 8. And then one category, all of those teams that I mentioned are scale bots, basically. They're going to be fighting at the middle of the field. And so I haven't given a whole lot of love to switch bots in this division. And so I want to give a huge shout out to 558 Robot. I think they're going to be a sleeper pick because they might not seed high, but they're going to be a pick that basically a lot of teams can't deliver. This is the cutest robot since 148's Bolts last offseason. They were basically one of the only shooting bots in New England. Not a lot of people did that up in the Northeast. And but they've really made their name for themselves, like a lot of shooting bots with their switch and exchange play. I look forward to them doing really well. And so, again, I brushed through that list very quickly, and it definitely goes deeper than that. It's really hard to pick who to talk about. I mean, all these guys are saying the same thing. There's so many teams, and a lot of people are saying this is the weakest division. I don't see it. I know all the other divisions are strong, but 195 is one of the top teams.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the weakest, but I think it's the only one with a clear number 1. So I don't know if that's skewing people's opinions. Yeah. Because like I said, like it's really the only division where you could say yes, 195 is the number 1 robot. Every other division. So I don't know if that makes everybody think, well, everybody else must be terrible, which is really dumb logic. It doesn't make any sense. But
yeah,
I think it's also there's no clear number 2.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to play out kind of like some of the Houston divisions where you see like a real strong number 1, a drop off, and then a bunch of huge like cluster of teams that are all just really, really good.
Yep. I'm going to jump in on Curie and give more Canadian love because that's my area of expertise to Team 48-14. They are one of few robots who I think they know how to play defense in this game really well. They were really effective at shutting down teams at the provincial championships. They were holding down robots like 2056, 610, 188, just whoever you threw at them, they were able to hold them back. So huge shout out to these guys, and a shout out to a former 610 alum, Matthew Lang, who is their drive coach. So
48-14's played good defense since they were a rookie. I remember reffing their division in 2013, and they played defense from underneath the opponent's pyramid without getting fouls. And it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they've got a good head on that drive coach there. He was an operator, if I'm remembering correctly, the World Championship operator in 2013 for 610, but I might be wrong about that one. But he's been operating for 610, and now he's there at Western. So he's doing good work with them, and they've built really simplistic robots, and they drive the crap out of them.
Rock on.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're gonna take a short. Oh, wait, Audrey, you got something?
One more shout out.
Yeah, I got one too.
I mean, I have one too.
All right, I got
Why am I
a
even
New
here?
York teams here. So first off, shout out to Team 20, the Rocketeers. Absolutely great robot this year. They have over-the-back scoring. They're working on 2-cube autonomouses. They've been drive practicing since week 3 when they got off. Second shout out to Team 333, the Megalodons. Absolutely fantastic robot for New York City. They've been playing ever since there and just doing awesome. So both of those teams kind of dark horsey, but going to do really well in this division.
Then I'm going to give a shout out to 1684, the Chimeras, or as I lovingly call them, the Chimichangas. And they're a fantastic. They've got a very consistent 3-cube switch auto. They've got really good switch and exchange play. And I don't know, they're one of my favorite teams to work with ever. They're just a great group of people. If you're in Curie Division, go say hi to them. They're really nice people. One of my favorite teams to spend time with. So there's mine.
Well, yeah, I would like to actually give a shout out to 2826, Wave Robotics. They had an amazing Seven Rivers Regional where they upset the number 1 seed and took the whole event. So we can totally expect some big upsets in whatever division alliance they are at playoffs.
Not just that, they were the second best robot at Central Illinois. Like really, they're very, very good this year. And yeah,
I can totally see them farming autonomous points of the auto to get those ranking points, and they're going to see it great. And I think whoever teams gets them as a pick, they're going to be a really strong robot for the scale.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Team 316, the Lunatics out of Mar. They have a 148 style intake where it sucks in the cube and then it turns it sideways so they can get a little bit more denser scale placement. If you need to, have endorsements of this team, you can watch the match where they knocked us over in Springside Chestnut Hill. I mean, their driving is just ridiculous, and it was just really, really good. So, someone's going to sleep on them, and then they're going to get picked, and they're going to win the division.
Awesome. Okay, y'all, we're going to take a break for just a minute on division recap. So we're actually going to talk about kind of the event overall and what we think First can do to make Detroit a success. Now, we talked about a couple of the Houston blunders earlier. Now, keep in mind, y'all, when we're talking, this is not a Candidly Speaking episode, and this is not Fun After Dark. So let's try and keep that in mind as we're going through here. But I want to hear y'all's opinion on how you think First can improve the Detroit experience and make it a real championship.
Detroit is perfect and wonderful, and everything will be amazing. No, but no, I'm super excited to have it here. But no, I think what they need to do is, just hopefully they're just taking in this feedback, and I don't know what they can change, because I know like they're already committed to moving to Einstein for 2 matches. Like that's already committed. They can't change that, which is sad, because I think that's my number one problem is like the trek to Ford Field is like it's farther than it was for the trek from the Houston things or closer. I can't remember what they're called, but the trek from Cobo to Ford Field is not a short trip, so it's a little inconvenient. So I think that I can foresee that being a problem, but hopefully they have some way of like they've sort of accounted for that in some way. But so that's my one thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah, they had lots of dead time in Houston, so I think either filling those gaps with more matches or awards or something like that in between, just filling that dead time, making it so that it's a very set experience for teams. I really love Einstein. I love watching it on the live stream, but when we can't see it, that's a problem too. So just making sure that like all the AV crew is good and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I think the biggest issue in Houston for me personally, for the few matches that I watched, just came down to AV production. Like, how do you start finals match 1 and then have to foghorn because the chroma key isn't set up? Like, That's elementary 101, like setting up an event. And clearly somebody messed up. I'm going to blame AV just because I'm sure the people at First Staff know what they have to do. And like, I have no idea what the AV situation was, but like, that just cannot happen. Finals, World Championship, match number 1, you foghorn after a 3-2-1 start.
Yeah. From what I understand, from what people have said, it's the same company doing AV and production and everything that it has been in St. Louis is doing it for Detroit. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so it's called Show Ready Events is doing it. They did it in St. Louis and they'll be doing it in Detroit. So hopefully, even though it's a different and new venue, it'll be the same sort of quality expectation.
Yeah, that's good. I think my overall complaint with Houston is probably just more complaint with World's event production, where it generally I don't get this quite as much in some of the districts, but some of the like what gets shown on the screen, it just almost feels a little bit campy, if you know what I mean, right? And I when you juxtapose that against like gracious professionalism and specifically the professionalism part, I always feel a little bit weird, and it's like, this is what we're showing, right? So I mean, I figure someone's got to say it. I'll say it here. That's probably the biggest problem that I have with World's event production. It just seems like it's a little bit of not quite like the same kind of vibe that I get out of even like a lot of the district championships.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Ben or Lino? Me?
Here. I'll go ahead. But I was gonna say this might be a little different than some of what y'all said. I don't care. I like the camp. I like I don't mind the hokiness of it all. I think going over the top is totally fine. My biggest problem, and I think the biggest difference and drop off between district championships and district events between championships, is they stopped focusing on the teams. They did it some, like they showed chairman's videos and stuff. I thought they took so much focus away from the teams during those giant breaks and stuff, and they had interviews and stuff like that. But from a spectator's point of view, I got the feeling that the teams competing weren't the focus, and I don't think that's how it should be. I don't care if they want to go over the top, be cheesy, make jokes, unprofessional. I didn't have a problem with any of that. I was more mad about the lack of focus on the people that had put the time, effort, and money to be there, really. That being said, though, I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did. Or at least the people on Chief Delphi. I don't know about y'all, but
Chief Delphi hates everything. So.
Yeah.
I thought it was an improvement over last year in a number of ways. I thought first,
no one got heat stroke this year, so that's an improvement.
Yeah. Maybe it was just the teams were more prepared and knew what they were getting themselves into with Minute Maid Park and all that stuff. But Lino, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, for me personally, well, I went to Houston and I've gone to 2 champs before. Honestly, like last Houston, I actually liked it, how it was all set up. I just felt this year there were some really big empty spaces. And like if you walk to them, you just didn't feel the championship experience. But for example, walking at the pits, it was as crazy as always. So you get that championship experience. So what I'm expecting for Detroit is that there's not that many huge empty spaces because it's just awkward in my opinion. So yeah.
I want to jump in real quick and ask you guys, Lino, from you being at Houston and you and I were there, how did you feel about the random pit assignments?
Okay, so about the beginning, it was kind of messy. Like we were trying to find a team and we couldn't. But after that, it actually I think that it was cool because there was a lot of diversity everywhere, and like some teams just get always assigned with those same teams at championships beside them if they're getting twice on the same division. So it's good for a change of view. And like honestly, I think it also helped out in the big fields like Hopper. Just imagine having 148 and 2054 together, that pit aisle will be just crowded with people. So I'm sure it did help, and I think they should do it again, definitely.
A big shout out, by the way, to Eugene and the Blue Alliance for taking the API and putting pit numbers on the teams, so you could just instantly look that up, which made it. You and I, as you mentioned, were trying to find that. It made it way easier because otherwise, literally, like there was just pieces of paper on the ground and on the sides of the aisles, not even all the sides of the aisles, that just listed the pit number and nothing else.
Yeah, they need a pit map at the beginning that everyone can just spot quickly, especially for
or
the
every
judges.
aisle or something.
Yeah, they just need like everywhere to tell where's each number. Because honestly, if it wasn't for the Blue Alliance, I would have been lost half of the time.
Okay, thanks guys for a good discussion on that. We're gonna hop back into our event recaps, our event previews. Sorry, we've got 3 more good districts to go through. So next up in order, we have the Daly preview. Parth, take us away.
Yeah, so on the Daly division, I want to start by saying I love the teams that are on here. My team's competing on the Daly division, so I'm really looking forward to what this division is going to play out. Like Newton 2016 with 1241, Darwin 2017 with 610, Daly 2018 with 610. My last 3 years of championships have been just filled with some really competitive teams on my divisions, and I love watching all these amazing teams and getting to compete with them, especially with 2 champs and the likelihood of not competing with as many good teams. So I'm super excited, and this is going to be very, very interesting to see how many different ways Daly can play out, because there are enough top teams and there's so many permutations that you could possibly go with, and I'm not even going to bother with predictions at the end of this because I would be wrong. I would be wrong. And so I'm not even going to bother. But it's going to be really exciting to see what happens. And there are 28 unique winners at this on this division, so winners of either district events or regional events. And that's about 40% of the teams on the division who already know how to win at Power Up. So lots of good teams on this division at the top. And I'm going to start us off with the number 1 lock. I think they're definitely the crowd favorite. I don't know if they have the number 1 spot locked down, but they're definitely the crowd favorite, and that's 2767. That's Strike Force from Michigan. They've got 2 district event wins. They've got a district championship division win, and they're the clear favorites just because of how lovable they are. They've got the crazy swerve. They drive it well, and they're also defending world champions, so you got to give them a little bit of brownie points for that. So all in all, they know how to stack cubes. They can do it like the best. And they know how to defeat the boss with their buddy lift. So I can't wait to see this robot up close. They're definitely my favorite robot on the division, besides my own because I play favorites. And on the number 2 spot on my personal list, I've got another Michigan team. I'm going to throw up the Killer Bees. That's team 33. They are the most fun-loving team I have ever met in FRC, and I've been doing this for a really long time. If FRC was all about having fun and not winning, somebody needs to take notes from the Killer Bees because they have a tremendous amount of fun and their banner count is not small. The picture you're seeing there has a little basketball net. We played a little bit of a joke on them at Windsor, and they were super awesome about it. They weren't mad or anything, which we were kind of worried about, but they're just awesome people. And they really know how to have a good time. And we're glad that they come up to Windsor for the last couple of years and hope to see them again in the future. But I'll get to see them in a couple of days. And they are really good at stacking cubes. A lot of people have a lot of things to say about this robot. And I know PJ said a few things earlier, but they are honestly one of my favorite robots in the year. They've had issues, no denying that. They've had their robot break and they've had sensor issues and all that. It seems to be fixed, or at least it was fixed at Windsor. And they weren't on our pick list specifically for those reasons. And ironically, we ended up picking a different robot who had issues. So all in all, there's no running from that, I guess. But a great robot. There's just no question about it. I do have one question for the Bees. Do you still have the basketball net? And if you do, can you please bring it? I'm coming to take a shot at your pit. It's gotta happen. All right. I've been throwing Canadian love out there all day or all night, I guess, and I can't stop now. My next team is going to be Team 1305. That's Team Ice Cube from the real north up in northern Ontario. It's super cold there, but I love going there. They're awesome people. They're great hosts. They are winners of 2 district events themselves. Team 1305 has really come alive on the arcade, and you're likely to find them at the top of the rankings due to their side buddy bar that goes on either side, so robots don't really have to worry about lining up on a particular side like some other robots. And so they help out with that. They've got the 4 ranking points that can help them see very high. They've got a really consistent robot this year with a lot of potential, and it looks real pretty too. And they just have that robot that you kind of look at and go, man, they're like a solid robot. They're just going to put up points. Additionally, I think if they get a consistent multi-cube autonomous on the scale going and a buddy bar that hopefully doesn't snap as many times as it did at provincial championships, they're definitely going to become front runners on the Daly division. All right, so my final lock to say on the Daly division is team 1796. They are also winners of 2 district events, and you might be noticing a pattern with my locks. And they
I don't think they won any.
Sorry,
Yeah,
district
no,
events.
they're a regional team.
Wow.
Yeah. New York districts?
I
Someone
meant
say
to
New York
say,
districts?
if I read this right, if winning 2 district event makes you a lock, which is the pattern on my list, winning 3 regional events, which is what 1796 did, excuse me for that, then they're definitely a lock as well. The Robo Tigers are 48-4-0, so they've played just as many matches as district teams. They might as well be a district team, and they've won just about all of them. So outstanding robot. They play super well. They actually remind me of a Canadian friend of mine known as Team Dave. They're just less memey. There's just a lot less memes on the field with them, and I'm looking forward to seeing them up
what
close.
rank they are before
Sorry?
alliance? I said, do they know what rank they are during alliance selections? And
I haven't seen any issues with that. I know that the other friends of mine that I mentioned from Canada have a few issues with that, but definitely not on the Robo Tigers. I think they know how to look at the standings. They find themselves pretty high on there, so that's probably why. They've been in the top 3 at all 3 of their events in terms of rankings, and they can definitely seed there if they can find a way to get 4 RP more consistently on this division. But even without that, I am sure they could easily find their way onto the number 1 alliance on this field, even not being the number 1 captain. All right, so those are my locks. There are just so many good teams on this field, so if you feel like I shortchanged your team, feel free to prove me wrong on the field. I'll be happy to listen to you rub it in my face. But I'm going to move on to a couple of robots who I think there's a little bit of unknown around them. And I'm going to start with Shooters Shoot. We all know that. And we might as well nickname Daly division the Pew Pew division, because there are going to be a lot of cubes getting shot on this division. One of our few Europeans in first, 4481, the Rembrandts, they're looking to outgun the world with their innovative pass-through intake and their shooter design. Team 346, who knows their lines are always good and seems to always be right on the button with their shots. They hurry hard and can even place cubes in the switches really, really quickly. They play a clean swept game. Oh, and there's a familiar Canadian team in Team 610 as well. All of these teams will need to prove their ability to scale late to claim the division title. They have a lot of work to do to match up to some of the elevator and lifter prowess that exists on this division. So I can't wait to see the shooter showdown, as it were. And I'm really excited that we get to actually play a match according to the preliminary schedule with the Rembrandts. That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see. I don't even know how we're going to play that match, but let's just shoot all the cubes. I don't even care if we score. Let's just shoot. All right.
Yeah, I think we have to upsell 610 because you can't hear. They're really good this year, and you guys should be really proud.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I'm sure the boys will be happy to hear that. I'm going to throw more Michigan out there. Actually, I think Daly's kind of overrepresented by Michigan and Ontario, if you look at the graph. So I'm sorry if I'm not giving enough love to all the other regions, but the Atom Bots, they've won 2 district events. Team Rush has a district event of their own. Both really good teams. They've both won in the past. These teams are historically very good teams. And I'm sure that they're going to want to be in the mix. They're going to need to play at a slightly higher level to match the likes of Strike Force and the Killer Bees. But they certainly have the robots that are capable of doing that. Adding to the Michigan teams, there are the Gems, Team 4362. They too have won 2 events. So, like, the fact that they're not even on my lock list, having won 2 events, tells you that this division is nuts, and I'm probably nuts for not putting them in my lock list. But they can do a lot of scoring of their own, and they can match a lot of the other teams that I've mentioned already. So I'm really looking forward to see the Gems. They're going to be great. I'm going to quickly go over some dark horses, so I'm not going into too much detail here, but Canadian friends on Dave, as long as they know what the ranking situation is and what they do there. The original Canadian team I'm representing with their hoodie right now, Team 188. Both of these guys have terrific robots, and they've actually used most of the regular season to fine-tune and tweak their robots. So if they come ready for Daly, I don't think Daly is going to be ready for them. I'm also going to give some love to Team 2013, the Cybergnomes. Similar boat as Team 2200. Another robot we kind of slept on, and then they gave us a whooping in the semifinals on our division at District Champs. So don't sleep on them, and I know I won't make that mistake a second time. So with that being said, I want to throw 2708, that's Lake Effect Robotics, as another robot on this list. They're a great Ontario team with the ability to scale really well. So shout out to Team Lake Effect as well. I'm going to now mention Team 1024. So I used to love this team as a student in FRC back in the day. And so they're always going to be on my list of teams I always watch for, just because, just carry forward, I guess. And they know how to win events. They've been to Einstein before, and they know how to win at Power Up because they've already done it. That was level 2 Power Up, though. I don't know if they're quite ready for level 9, which is what we're going to be seeing this week on the daily field. Along with them, they have their fellow peer winners, Team 74 Chaos, who are in exactly the same situation. They won early. I don't know if they know how to adapt to the game. I'm sure they've figured it out by now, but the game has changed, as my team very well will tell you. And like I said earlier, I'm not too knowledgeable about teams outside of Ontario these days because there's just too much in Ontario to keep track of. And obviously Michigan's large, so I've mentioned a lot of teams from Michigan, but I want to give a lot of special love to Team 4539. That's Team Chaotic Robotics. They're from Frazee, Minnesota, which I think is just an awesome place to be from. I know nothing about this place. I hope I'm saying it right. Frazee, Minnesota. That just sounds like a cool place to be from. Sounds way better than Toronto. But they just have a really special and great robot. They have the ability to do really, really well. I didn't mention them in any of my particular categories earlier, but expect them to be right in the mix and the thick of things with any of those other names that I mentioned. They're an outstanding team, and I'm really excited to see up close. So they're my special pick for Daly.
Hold on. I just want to point out that Parth's dark horse picks were Dave, 188, Cybergnomes, 1024, and 74, who's a world champion.
Well, to be fair, they never touched carpet on that world championship run, but whatever.
Fine. But yeah, I don't know if I'm buying dark horse Parth.
So like I said,
your screen is definitely darker
than your horses.
Dave and I'll tell you what, the Canadian teams that I mentioned, I only put them as dark horse specifically because they haven't had the success I think that they wanted to have this season. Dave won an event, which was awesome. They won, Waterloo, which is its own event. But I'm actually a student for 188, so nothing would make me happier than to see 188 win the division, as long as it's with me. But I haven't seen like that next level of play that it's going to take to beat some of these like Strike Force and the Bees, and like I myself am scared about teams like Dave and 188, man. Like if I go up against Dave and 188 in the quarters, like I don't know what I do.
All right. I guess to make Garrison a little happy, I'll throw out some dark horses for Daly that are a little bit darker. One that another shooter bot on the division is Team 614 from Chesapeake. They've improved greatly as the course of the season's gone on. So they're another one that's going to be flinging cubes all over the place. And then another Chesapeake team that I've had my eye on is Team 1629, Garrett Coalition Gecko. So they're
throw them out there, PJ, if you didn't.
Yeah. So those are I'll put those as a little bit darker horses, mainly because nobody ever talks about Chesapeake. But I think Gecko is they're a fantastic switch scale robot, all around robot, and then 614 with the lawnmower. is one of my favorite robots. Like I said, they're a shooter and they play the switch and exchange incredibly well, and they have really smart drivers.
All right. You think Chesapeake Star? Let's go Long Island. 31-71, the Hurricanes played at Greater Pittsburgh quarterfinalists. SPPLI 2, they lost in finals, but they've got a solid scale autonomous and very consistent teleop play. And they could probably make it to a limbs. I'm pretty confident with that. And they should be a player on any alliance that they can contribute to.
All right, now we're going to go to our second to last division of the evening. It is the Darwin division, and Lino, go ahead and take it away.
All right, so Darwin looks really interesting, and it has a big variety of teams. And like, even though in FRC division it only chose like 2481 as the top teams, honestly, there's so many big robots that I'll be talking a little bit about them and what I found interesting about this division. But like, honestly, it's a packed division with many big accomplishments. It kind of reminds me like the Galileo division I did over there at Houston. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about some Michigan teams and what they've done. Honestly, almost all the Michigan teams coming here, they're looking strong, and they're going to be good on quals. So the first one is 2337 Engineers. They won 2 district events, and they took division finalists for their division at district champs. We also have 494 Martians winning 1 district event and taking division finalist also. And well, you can see a partner now as 3536 Electro Eagles also took 2 district events and were semifinalists at their division. So just big robots of Michigan. And 2 dark horses from Michigan that caught my attention are 3542 Speed. They've been speeding up all season, and this is another dark horse coming in from Michigan. I expect them to be a good second pick for any alliance, even though they haven't had really deep playoff runs. I'm looking forward for them. Also, we have 2834 Bionic Blackhawks. They've been shown to have a big robot in each event, but aside from that, they took the event Chairman's Award, district championships, and I think we may even see them as Sherman finalists for the entire event of Detroit. Some other big robots coming out from New England. The Wrecking Crew will be showing up full force in Darwin and will be led by Furious Trio of 176 Aces High, 177 Backup Robotics, and 125 Neutrons. We also have 78 Airstrike, and from there also 1519, the Mechanical Mayhem. They're also coming to play, and they won't likely backseat anyone. I would like to talk a little bit more about Team 125, the Neutrons, which have been having a strong run on all their playoff events. They've been taking out the events. Some events, and I can expect them to be strong robot on championship as they are every year. And I think that if they can get those body climbs and secure their ranking points, they're going to be a big contender for the division. Up from the north, we have Team 772, the Saberbites. They've been having a great run by all this season, so we can expect a great robot from them. They can basically do anything on the field, so strategy-wise, we can see them doing the scale on some matches, doing switch on some other matches, and even just filling the exchange there. I think they have some cube placement issues on the scale, but if they figure them out and just drive a little slower, they're going to be a great robot to consistently get those cubes. Another robot from Canada coming in big. It's going to be 5406. Celtics, they were winners at their division at Ontario, the technology division, if I'm right. And honestly, Celtics have just been doing great throughout all the season. On the finals at Ontario, they had some great matches against 2056, almost taking them in one of the matches. And they have a unique elevator robot, which has an ability to move cubes on 180 angles. And they can rock with that a 3-cube scale auto. I'm sure they can do great on their division, especially if they get that consistent auto going on, since it will give them an early game advantage. And they can also use their body climb to get those ranking points, so I expect them to see it high. And we also have 4817 Sir Lancer bots, which they're actually like alliance partners with Celtics at Ontario. So they've been having a great round this season. And I think that there'll be another great robot to see at this division. Another team, Team 2791, Shaker Robotics. is going to be another lock for this. It's definitely one of the top teams for this division. They've dominated their 2 regionals events this season, and they've been gaining ranking points thanks to their stellar ramps. They're pegged to sit number 1 right now on this division, and this is thanks to their consistent scale play, consistent auto, and overall, they've had some great drivers throughout the season. Strategy makes them a shaker lock here in Darwin. The catch, they haven't played an official event since week 3. Unlike some of their district counterparts, we'll see if this can shake them, or if their extra practice time can shine through. Another great team, internationally talking, the Spice Gears. That's going to be 58-83. The Spice Gears from Poland, those who haven't kept up with the international scene and the international Foundry Cups, just go check them out. They're a great team. The Spice Gears are right now 32 wins and just 3 losses in official play, and they're having right now 4 blue banners in 2 events. So they're a big lock. Looking forward to watching them on the event, and they're going to do great teams at the division. I'm sure of it. Now I would like to talk one of my favorite shooter bots, actually, 2451 Pwnage. They've been having a crazy season so far. They've been winning 3 regionals, and they're being a launcher bot. It's kind of unique seeing them great at the season, mostly because aside from their launching capabilities, as I've been seeing in some matches, they just feel the switch, and the robot is great for whoever has them on the division. I would like to also just give a shout out to 1625 Win Innovation, which actually teamed up with Team 2451 Pwnage to win the Minnesota North Star Regional, and there's like a lot of history going with these 2 teams, so I wouldn't be surprised if they actually end up teaming up as the ranking goes. And talking about France, the other big lock we have in this division is 2481, the Robotics, which they've been having also an amazing season. They've been taking 4 blue banners in total, and they only lost their last qualification match this season. This robot is a complicated one, but not in a bad way. It's a beautiful robot, and it's in a beautiful manner made. Their driver has been mastering their swerve drive as the season progresses, and the robot right now it just moves like a gladiator. Honestly, this is one of my favorite robots this season, and I think we can expect a really deep run of them in playoffs. I would like to actually add a dark horse for this division, and that's going to be 111 Wallstanks. You have to go back to 2013 to see the last time Wallstein won an official event. This robot this year has potential, though, and if they can storm out some of their gremlins, they could be a good pick. They've had a good playoff runs, and so far I think the right alliance could totally make them go wild for this division. For some playoff predictions, I totally see 2791 taking the top seed. They've been doing it at the last events, and for their pick, they should probably watch for robots which have the most consistent auto in the scale, because personally, from what I've been seeing, getting the scale just in auto is going to be a huge advantage, especially if you just want to make it to Einstein and do well at Einstein finals. Well, this is what I have from the Darwin division. I don't know if anyone wants to add something.
27-9-1 is amazing, and I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
I want to throw out a few robots here, and also just to comment on, 2481. The one match they lost was in the middle of their season at their second event, where they were like triple teamed on the scale, and they've won every match other than that this entire season. So it's. If they had a buddy climb, watch out. They could take this whole thing. But a couple robots that I want to make sure we get called out to. On the Mar side, 56 and 365 are both on the third alliance at Mar Champs. 2 crazy good robots at the scale. Very good at placement there. If you go back and watch Mar quarterfinals 3-1, I believe, it's just a really insane match where you just watch 3 robots, them plus 103, just load up that scale like nobody's business. And so they're really watch out for them. The other one I want to make sure I call out is Team 4028, the Beak Squad. I've been at 2 events with them so far. Fantastic team, nicest people. Their first event, they were basically the best robot at the event, even though they seated low. The second event, they moved their hook so they could get a lot more RP. Ended up seating first, got knocked out by the FMS in their first quarterfinal match, and then got knocked out by Smart Strategy in their second match. But just really watch out for that team because they're going to be ridiculous good and ready to play here too. They have scale auto both for both sides 2-cube.
Yeah, also before we leave, I would actually like to also give a shout out to 865 Warp 7 from Ontario District. They've been doing great also on their season. Each event they've gone, they've been knocked out at semifinals, but it's been by strong teams like 1114 and 772. So I think they're going to be a great second or maybe third pick for whichever alliance gets them. And I would just like to add one big match that's coming up in this division. It's going to be Qualls 104 with big robots like we got like 4970, 78, 772, 2481, and more to come.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great match. I also I want to give a shout out on there. You had a bunch of New England teams that you mentioned, which is great. And I think this might be the year that the strategy of pick 177 and get to Einstein comes back. They were in Einstein like 6 years in a row. That was the strategy, right? If for years, if 177 was in your division, and you picked him, you got an automatic bid to Einstein. They just moved the rope for you, red carpet. That's how it worked. They're really good this year, better than they've been in a long time. I think 177 is definitely has a good chance to show up on the in the round robin.
They gotta take back the most Divisions 1 rank from 250.
Yeah, somebody finally took it. They've got to be mad about that.
Great division overall, honestly.
Oh no, I think this division scares me the most.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be watching this division. Yeah.
Yeah, for only listing one top team, Darwin is very deep.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We have one more division to get through, and then I think we're going to do our giveaway. Remember, that is a sweet 1756 Argos t-shirt. But before that, we're going to do our last division preview, so stick around. It is the Tesla preview. Ben, what you got?
All right. So talking about Tesla, the division is really stacked. There are many high-profile teams on this division who are looking to make their mark. It has the highest OPR average of all the divisions, and it's very likely that some very good robots will be left out of the top 24 and basically not even playing just because the division is so stacked and so full. I've got a list of 17 that I'm going to call out here at a minimum, and then you'll be like, they won matches, they won events, over and over again, right? And it's just going to be insane. So to start out, to go back to the looking forward type style, a couple locks. Have to talk about 2056 first. Really, this is, my subjective estimation, one of the, top 5, top 3 robots this year, something like that. Right now, they're 53-3. They have the most pristine record of any team on Tesla right now. They've gone undefeated at 2 very difficult events, both the McMaster District event and the Ontario District Championship, which my estimation was the second most difficult event of the regular season after New England. They've got it all. They've got a 3-cube. They've got a reliable buddy climb. They have some of the best strategy in first. They're the team we all aspire to be. And, far and away, they're the favorite here. Looking to make another trip to Einstein, make it to their 4th in a row and 6th overall. Parth, you're from Canada. Got anything to add here about 2056?
If they don't win a world championship this year, I don't know what more this team has to do to win a goddamn world championship. Can we just give it to them? Can we just give them the trophy?
Honorary world championship.
They deserve it more than most. And coming from a team who's won one, I need them to win so they can join the club because they run the club despite not being in the club. Sorry, I had to rant.
All right. So if we were having betting odds, I give the most equity to 2056, but also got to, I have to talk about 2590 here too. They're an incredible 69-6 at Marchamps. No one could touch the ranking score, and they basically even had the number 1 seed locked down almost going into Saturday, just because they had so many RP. They've won 3 events. They only barely lost their first event to 303, coincidentally, who we talked about earlier. And they've been the number 1 seed at every event they played. They've get the scale incredibly fast, put up so many cubes so fast, even though they usually sit behind the switch, put up one cube, and then run back to do the scale right away, just because they got to make sure that they get that ranking point. But then they put up so many cubes so fast, they put up 6, and then everyone just runs away because the scale's all full. So really look for them to be playing late in a Saturday morning. They're very good at this game. And if anyone can take it from 2056 or partner with 2056, it's probably Nemesis. They are extremely good this year. Carrying it on into the New England, I got to talk about 319. So Big Bad Bob, they've improved dramatically since their first event to really enter the top tier teams entering Detroit. So much since week 1 when they lost to 2791 and 340 in their first event. They've really improved since then to get on the number 1 alliance with 195 at New England District Championships, win the hardest event of the regular season. And they've improved, added a buddy climb, so awesome scale placement. Garrison, you've been watching a lot of New England here. What do you got to say about this team? You're on mute. You're on mute, Garrison.
You got it now.
I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, sorry. 319. Yeah, Big Bad Bob. They're awesome. They are so good. Absolutely the real deal this year. Yeah, they went to Central New York and qualified for champs week 1, and then they definitely did not coast through the season. They were spectacular at their events. And then, yeah, for district championships, they put on that buddy climb like as their robot was going in the trailer to drive to Boston. That was sort of a last minute thing, as they actually had a designed, but like an actual buddy bar coming off the back of their robot, and they scrapped it on Saturday before the event and went with the forklift, and it ended up getting them the number 2 seed in Boston. Can't say enough good things about this team. Ty has coached them to perfection this year. I think that they're going to definitely contend with 2590 and 2056, who a lot of people are saying are going to run away with it.
Yeah, slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
That's
all I want to say about 319.
Absolutely. Next team gotta talk about is Team 340. GRR barely doesn't make the locks list because the extremely other talk teams have all cut their teeth winning a district championship from the number 1 seed, and that's really the only reason. But ultimately, they could easily take the spot as one of these other teams on the number 1 alliance at Tesla. They're incredibly fast. They pick up cube after cube. They've won 2 events from the number 1 seed. They've even beaten 319 before, even though it was in week 1. And they've basically had a whole build season's worth of time to improve since then, a whole 6 weeks since week 3. So there's so much that GRR could bring to the table here and really surprise everybody with, something joining up with 2056 or one of these other top ranked teams and taking it home. Audrey, you got anything?
Yeah, absolutely amazing New York team. Had the pleasure to see them at FLR. Just incredible driving, incredible just knowing where to be at the scale. And they even broke their curse at FLR. They had been FLR finalists for something upwards of like 10 years or something crazy like that. Broke their curse this year, won it for the first time ever. And just absolutely amazing, good driving. Can't say enough good things about them.
All right, Jimmy, and now we've got now we start grouping teams just because we got to get there's so many here in this division. To start out with, I want to hit on a lot of the great teams from Canada, and Parth, feel free to jump in at any point here if you've got some more information to throw in there. 1241, I feel almost bad lumping them in with this group because they've got 2 wins and 2 finalists this year. There wasn't an event this season where they weren't on the number 1 seed. Barely lost their at Ontario District Championships to the in their division there. They're great this year. Anything you got to say about 1241, Parth?
I don't know if they want me to share this, so I'll try to be as subtle about it as I can. But they've made some subtle improvements to their robot that might make them even better, which is scary because they were pretty good to start.
Parth, you can always share secrets on first updates now. It's okay.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure
it stays between us.
Right, us and the internet and everyone. So, I mean, they're watching the stream, so technically I'm only really sharing with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, to talk about some other great teams here, there's 1360 and 4678. 1360's won 2 events this year, and 4678 debuted their brand new 3-cube auto at Ontario Champs. They're both doing extremely well. You have any information on your side, Parth? I know 4678 is kind of like a 971 style handoff machine, which they've done very well with that.
Yeah, I mean, we actually got a chance to play with 4678, and they're great. They were great to work with. We picked them specifically for their proven 2-cube autonomous modes in the qualification matches. So, 4678, for those of you who don't know, go look at 2016 autonomous modes and go look at Sallyport autonomous modes. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you need to go watch, because
yes. Oh yes. I still talk about it every day.
Like, they've always done these ridiculous things that just in autonomous just work. Like they are the 971 of the North, you could say. Thanks, Andrea. Like they, in 2015, had like a 3-tote 2-bin autonomous or something ridiculous like that. 2016 come up with this, a ridiculous autonomous mode against a defense that no one thought they wanted to.
They had a drawbridge autonomous. They had a drawbridge autonomous. Nobody else had one.
I was on.
There were a couple teams.
We had a drawbridge auto, but we didn't have as good a drawbridge auto. I will say, Cybercavs, like they wanted people to put the drawbridge in the Sallyport against them, because they were just like, oh yeah, we'll just dominate you with that. Like they are really talented with their programming there, and you look at their robot this year and you're like, what is that? And then you realize, oh, I guess they make it work, and they do. They make it work. So kudos to them. And 1360, I mean, great team there too. They've got some good mentors there. They've got some good kids. They score really fast, and they're one of the better scale robots in Ontario. So I'm sure they're going to be wanting to make a splash there as well.
All right, it's time for me to touch on some Michigan teams here now. So PJ, from my estimation, this one was a little bit lighter on the Michigan, so I might have missed a couple. So feel free to, inject a few if there's some really good ones out here that I'm missing. But I want to talk about 3098, our Michigan State champions, one of them anyway, who were very, very good at the scale and also have a buddy climb for seating really well. The 3641 also, they were like the number 2 seed on their division, I believe. And they'd been steadily improving match to match. I watched them put up cube after cube on the scale. Any thoughts on either of these teams, PJ? I mean, but looking at them, they both look like they're going to be great in playing, in a Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. Those are definitely the top 2 Michigan teams in this division. Scrolling through it really fast as I look at it. 3098 really stepped up their game from when I saw them, because I saw them. I refed at their first event, and they won their first event, but it was a very weak event, and they had a lot of issues. But then and then their second event they struggled, but they got to. I saw them at MSC, and I was floored by how much they improved. And then same with the Toasters. They had an off year last year due to some internal things. And then this year they came back with a vengeance. The only other Michigan team that I want to throw out that I've been talking about all year over on Intimidation because I love them is 6090, the Wayland Wildcats. Fantastic robot that nobody's heard of because it's a 6,000 team that nobody pays attention to 6,000 teams, right? But it's a 6090, the Wayland Wildcats, fantastic fantastic scale bot. And then the only other Michigan team I want to throw out real fast is Team 314, Big Mo. They're a shooter. They specialize in the switch and exchange and are fantastic. But like I said, so I want to throw out 6090 for sure is the one that people are going to sleep on because people don't know them. And I think somebody's going to get a steal of a third robot in 6090, and that's going to be scary.
Cool. All right, touching on from Minnesota now, we got 5172, the Gators. They have a super fast scoring machine with an Iron Cross climb, really representing the best of Minnesota in this division. Expect them to seed high and really make some waves here. They are a fantastic robot. They're kind of like a 2590 light in that they can throw up cubes really fast, and they also have the Iron Cross climb. So it's if the schedule works out well for them, they could play very well here and seed very high. To now hit on some very successful New England teams this year that weren't quite locks because they didn't position themselves quite as well at district championships, but they've had very successful seasons so far. Got to talk about team 2168, the Aluminum Falcons, who've won 3 district events this year, and 238, the Crusaders, who've won 2 district events this year.
When's the last time 2168 lost a district event?
It was a long time ago.
I knew this. I have this written down somewhere. I'll work on it.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. I know they won all theirs in 2017. They won all theirs this year. I'm pretty sure it's either sometime in 2016 or 2015. But they're insane here. They've won 3 district events, and for whatever reason, they maybe you've got some insight in this, Garrison. They didn't seed quite as well at New England District Championship. Fell to the 10th pick overall, unfortunately there. But there were so many great teams in the high ranks at the New England District Championship that just like looking through that list, I said like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, I guess they just didn't play as well. But I don't know for sure. So maybe you got some more insight.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to is there were so many good scale bots, and Aluminum Falcons and next team, I think you're probably going to mention 238 Crusaders. Yeah. Kind of similar problems. Some mechanical issues plagued them. Crusaders actually had their intake break in the semis or quarterfinals and struggled to recover from that. 2168 has been having some mechanical problems with their intake and elevator as well, I believe. Which is how they ended up there. They fell over like 3 times early on in the tournament as well. Mm-hmm. They really struggle with consistency of this tournament, which is weird for them. That's not something you really say about the Aluminum Falcons ever. They did end up falling a little bit, but like you said, it wasn't that surprising just because of the pure depth of teams that were there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm looking for all those teams to do very well here, and we could end up with just based on the number of teams that I'm listing off here, we could end up with some very stacked, lower numbered seeds, like 5, 6, 7, 8, just like all these robots pairing up together, which may ultimately mean not as much because, ultimately it's who gets the clothesline cubes up the fastest, but, it is what it is. Maybe they could pull something together. All right, moving on to a couple dark horses here. To hit them really fast, just want to shout out a bunch of teams. Some of them are, want to hit a couple WoW teams. We got 2614 Mars, 2 times event winner. 219 CIA has a 1-time event finalist, first or second pick at every event. And they've also revealed a 3-cube auto as well on Chief Delphi. I've seen this team on Girls of Steel's practice field. They do play very, very well. Their driving is very, very good. They're going to be a steal for somebody, and they may get overlooked here.
I think that's a 291.
291.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, 525's next, so Tyler's getting them up soon here. 525, Swart Dogs. They're 2 times finalists. They're a little bit on the slower side compared to some of the robots that we listed in the tips section, but they have very deliberate and accurate driving that could find them the right spot on the right alliance. We have 1712 Dogma. This is the other Mar team I want to shout out. They really surprised everyone at Mar Champs by upsetting the really stacked number 3 seed that had 56, 365, and 103 on it. They have a 2-cube same side scale auto, 1-cube opposite side scale auto, and they've really improved a lot this year. And look for them to do well in this division. They could be a steal by somebody. And I also want to shout out probably the best Indiana team in this division, Team 1720, Fixed Gears. They have a buddy climb ramp, a Strike Force swerve, They've really been improving with every single competition, and they could really shine at Worlds if everything aligns. Best robot on the finalist alliance and Indiana State champs, getting steadily better every event. And if there's someone who could really break out here and be a steal, Fixed Gears is definitely one of those robots. Quick predictions: 2056 seeds first, and picks whoever will help them get the clothesline cubes off the floor the fastest and most reliably, and to try to lock it down. It may not lock it completely. Anyway, anyone have any other thoughts on Tesla?
No?
I already got my thoughts in.
All right.
You gave us ample opportunity throughout the...
Yeah, I was trying. All right. Back to you, Garrison.
Yeah, I think now we're gonna go ahead and before we wrap up with our final thoughts, let's get Tyler in here because we do have to start that awesome giveaway we have. Tyler, what do you have for us there?
Thanks, Garrison. Yep. So in commemorative of 1756, giving their awesome T-shirt, they have a new surprise coming up. They don't want to divulge too much because you know what team does going to the champs. But if you're interested in winning this T-shirt and keychain, you have to type in the key phrase "selfie stick." One word. Selfie stick. That's their. By the way, I love how our hosts type it in before anybody else hears it because there's a delay.
If I don't win, this isn't rigged well enough.
All right, fair enough. So type in selfie stick. That will get you your chance. You do have to either follow or subscribe. If you don't do those and we draw your name, we will re-roll. Once again, if you subscribe, you get 5 times luck. And thank you to everybody who subscribed so far today, guys. It really means a lot that you appreciate us enough to either, link your Amazon Prime account, which is free, by the way, or give us a few bucks as well, guys. But either way, I mean, we get the same out of it either way. So sincerely, to take a couple minutes or give a few bucks, I mean, that means a lot to us because we can keep making shows and program, guys. So thank you. We call it the value for value model. You get value out of consuming our content. Hopefully you don't mind pitching us a couple bucks on the way back. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Tyler. And okay, but again, before we wrap up and while we have this awesome giveaway going, I want to hear some last thoughts and closing things from everybody. And what are you going to be up to during Two Champs this weekend? PJ, what are you doing?
All right. As of right now, I'm just gonna be being obnoxious around. Because I'm not with the team and I'm not volunteering this weekend. So I'll be spending a lot of time with 614, the Nighthawks, and 4476 Waffles. So I'll probably be around one of them. Be hanging out with 910 too. And then if Tyler needs a camera boy, like Lino helped him out with, I can be Tyler's camera boy. But I'll be around being obnoxious. If you see me, come say hi. I'm easy to see. I'm a large man.
Oh, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be figuring out why 1756's keyword was selfie stick. Anyway, I'll be with 5254 over in Carson, scouting, taking data, really doing anything with scouting. Love it. Probably in the pits at some point too. Just come over, say hi. We're a cool team. We have seats. We have seats in our pit. Yeah.
I'll be competing on Daly, as I mentioned earlier. So I'll be I'm actually the drive coach. So I'll be in various places at various times, depending on what the schedule says. But the one thing I do want to mention and take this time to mention is Team 7329 from, I guess, technically Oakville, Ontario, but they're not. They're the Afghan Dreamers from Afghanistan. I will be spending as much of my free time checking in with these guys and helping them out with anything that they might need help with, because there's an awesome story here. If you don't know the story, you should definitely check into it. But the TLDR is these girls from Afghanistan are in Canada competing, and now they're qualified for Worlds. And I'm really hoping that they win Rookie All-Star there.
Good for them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to be inspecting on Wednesday in Darwin. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, bouncing back and forth between 225 and 3504 as needed, help out where needed. So it's across 2 divisions, so that's going to be fun. But, we'll see. Champs is always a fun time. So, hopefully I see lots of friends and make lots of new ones.
I'm just going to be home watching the event. We're actually planning for Saturday some local teams to maybe get together, some friends, and just watch those Einstein finals and maybe see who wins.
Well, yeah, maybe C.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe. No, it depends what we're doing on the part.
Well, and if the webcast, actually shows who wins.
Oh, yeah. Green screens. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm also not going to be at First Champs. I'm actually going to be at Vex Worlds this week as an announcer, which is going to be awesome. So anybody that is in Louisville instead should come say hi to me. It'll be really fun. But now I think, Tyler, is just about time to announce the winner of our giveaway. Who do we got?
Hey, thanks, Carson. We'll draw for that in just a second. Yeah, I'm
there
here.
we go.
Don't worry
Okay.
about it. I have
Get
to
some
manually
rom-rom.
unmute myself each time. So a couple things with that real quick, guys. If you are at the Detroit Championships, many of us hosts are going to be doing a meetup at the Alumni Mixer. I know not everybody is necessarily qualified to go to the Alumni Mixer, but if you are there, that is where a lot of us will be together in one place. We'd love to say hi, but many of us are going to be there the entire championship. Some of us with teams, some of us doing media and filming. So make sure you check it out. If you're not at Detroit, if you watch any of our Houston coverage, we did a whole bunch of live streams. We plan on doing that again. As long as my data plan doesn't get throttled, we should be in good shape. And we can't wait to show you kind of what's going on behind the scenes, because we get on-field coverage. We can hopefully catch some of the divisions winning as well. And, can't wait to see everybody. So thank you so much for all your support, everybody. Looking forward to a great Detroit championship run. Something to also note is that tomorrow, a lot of people were asking about Houston, by the way. We will be doing a Houston recap tomorrow. It is going to be a truncated one and more of a look back than a recap, guys. With two championships going on, there's a lot of us to put together coverage. So we're going to be doing a bit of a look back and release some of the interviews and bring on a couple great guests for that as well. So thank you, everybody. And with that said, let's go ahead and do our drawing. That was my filibuster, so you could get your last part in for it. And the winner of that is going to be Nips 2056 with the win. Congratulations, subscriber. And that's how you do it, guys. You subscribe, and apparently you're not a host, and then you win. It's okay.
Yeah, this is not rigged well enough, Tyler.
I was promised a win.
We should get lots of rigged emotes and chats, guys, if you have it.
Yeah, how else do you think that they get us to volunteer to do these? They just tell us that we're going to automatically win the giveaway.
Yeah, then I
lie
every week.
And we
That's
fall
all it is.
every week.
Wait,
We
is
keep
he from
falling for it.
2056 then? Does that mean that maybe 2056, is it a sign that they're going to win it all?
Nope.
Pretty sure he works with 1241 now.
Yeah, he's moved on to 1241 now, so that's interesting.
Then 2056 will win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all they were missing is Nips to leave.
Yep. Good job.
Alrighty. On that note, thank you again to everybody that has watched this evening. If you want more First Robotics in your life, if you like what we do, if you like the show, all we ask is that you tell more people about it. They can get FRC in their lives as well. If you have an extra couple of bucks, we'd really appreciate it if you would throw it our way. We use this to make shows. Again, we don't get paid for what we do. All the money goes back into the program so we can create good content for you. If you don't have a couple of bucks, we totally understand. Also, if you are going to be in Detroit, like Tyler said, come check out the Alumni Mixer. That is on Thursday evening. And tomorrow night, like Tyler said, we have the Houston recap show as well as the top 25 for the Detroit Championships starting at 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow night. So I think that does it for us. On behalf of myself, PJ, Audrey, Parth, Dan. Oh, no Dan. Sorry.
No, Dan.
Ben and Lino. Our producer, Tyler. I would like to thank you for tuning in. And I would also like to thank any moderators in our chat this evening for keeping it clean. And yeah, don't forget to watch our shows or catch up on all the other shows that are on YouTube right now on the Fun channel. And thank you. That does it for us tonight. Have fun, and we'll talk to you next time.
Good night.